And with that, Hardly Holidays is coming to a close. But one more episode.
To the sweet and condensed version of our podcast, which we call Hardly Holidays. We're so excited to have you here for our last and final episode of Hardly Holidays. I'm Kelly.
I'm SP. The last episode, but the first episode of 2025.
I know, isn't that crazy how that works?
What other podcast releases an episode on a Wednesday that also happens to be the brand new frickin' year?
I don't know, but you're welcome.
I hope your year is going better than last year.
I hope so too. I think mine is. So
yeah, mine too. And today's top knots, and we're gonna see if that's accurate or not. But before we dive into our top knots, a little bit of homework. Yes, we're coming to a close on the second annual Hardly Working, Hardly Holidays. It's been a fun time. You enjoyed yourself?
I have enjoyed myself.
Me too. And
happy to be here. This is my favorite one. I'm gonna keep interrupting you. So I'm just kidding.
You should.
No. You love.
I love getting to do an episode every single day. I wish we could do it all the time. But as we wrap things up for last year and look forward to this year, just a reminder that Hardly Working Through It is going to be is already its own podcast. It will no longer be here where you're listening to Hardly Working. It'll be on its separate channel, Hardly Working Through It. You can find it on Spotify and on iTunes and anywhere you get your podcasts. Remember, that is the show where we dig deep. It will be uncensored and unadulterated and unappropriate and unsatisfying, probably. No, but this will be the one. We want to move it off of this channel that is family friendly and just kind of focused on fun so we can really get into the nitty gritty without having to worry about things that we're saying. So that's happening on Hardly Working Through It.
Just being able to be more genuinely and authentically who we are.
Yeah, that's a better way to say that.
Yeah.
That's how she would have said it on Hardly Working Through It.
Yeah. So
rather than how I said it on this show.
Where we can talk about real issues, real things without also then needing to hurry up to get to unpapa pins, which we probably will still do because I like unpapa pins.
Yeah, but not on Hardly Working Through It. Those are out.
I mean, there might be
Who knows?
room and space for that there, and we talk about it.
But I am excited for not only that, but for the other things we've got coming up in this new year. Some of which we might talk about later on in the show. But wanted to give you that reminder of Hardly Working Through It. January 10th will be the first episode, the first new episode. If you want, you can go subscribe to Hardly Working Through It right now. It's up with the backlog of episodes that we've already done. So check that out. Hop on over there and see if you enjoy it. I think that's all the housekeeping we have.
Mm-hmm. Now it's time to jump on in. Well, what we should start off with is reminding people what top knots are, because no, it's not the thing on the top of a guy's head when they have long hair and they make a top knot.
Man bun. That's a man bun.
It's a top knot.
But that is where I stole the name from.
But it is the time of year where we rank our top 10 best moments. That is going to fall.
Something going to fall on me?
Yeah.
A wreath?
No, garland. But we rank our top 10 best moments of the year. We start at 10, we go to 1. We also talk about our bottoms, which we call our knots, but our bottoms of the year, those aren't ranked. We just kind of talk about what they are.
They're too sad to rank. How can you tell me what the least bad of the worst things is?
I don't know. It doesn't work. We could. It would just take a long time. We also have some runner-up moments that we like to share, but we also every year like to look back at the year before. I was going to say 2023. We don't look back at 2023 every year. We like to look back at the year before and see what our top 5 best moments of the year was.
Yeah, rather than going through all 10 and doing that again, we have not even looked at this since then.
No.
So we like being surprised. Also, if you wanted to do top knots, if you get halfway through this and you're like, this is kind of fun, I want to do this. If you go to our Instagram at It's Hardly Working, you can get your top knots PDF and fill it in for yourself and with friends, whatever.
If you do it, share it with us. Tag us, send it to our email.
Yeah, send me your worst moments.
Your top moments. We'd love to celebrate with you.
That's right.
Your top moments of the year.
Send your worst ones to Hardly Working Through It.
Don't do that.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we'll talk about it there too.
Alrighty, well, without further ado, let's jump in to the recap of the 2023 top 5 of our top knots. Would you like to start this one?
Yeah, how does this work? Do I start at number 5 and work my way up?
You know what? Let's just do your 5 to 1 and my 5 to 1 because we'll go one by one later.
Perfect. That's perfect because number 5 is you guys and this, our Hardly Working podcast. That was my 5th top thing last year.
Oh, that was my number 1.
Really?
Go ahead. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. We just started. It was great.
It's true. Ashley, my new friendship with Ashley May / drag brunch with Scott. My friendships that I was making last year.
That was number 4.
That was number 4.
Drag brunch made number 4.
With Ashley May friend. It was like my friendships.
Okay.
Like, but drag
new
brunch
friendships.
Specifically, yeah. Number 3 was becoming an auntie to Oliver.
Oh, yeah. It took me a second. I was like, who
my best
had
friend
a baby?
giving birth. Yeah. Number 2
last year. Crazy.
was Disney World with the girls.
With the gals.
With Andy and Hannah's.
Very fun.
And number 1, of course, how could you forget? My number 1 moment of last year was
I got it.
Going to see the queen herself, Taylor Swift, in concert. It was everything.
Good year. Good year for you last year.
I know. I didn't have very many worst moments. There's only 4.
Well, I think it's hilarious because I just glanced over my worst moments, one of which was fixing the tile floors. Spoiler alert, we don't have tile anymore.
No, we don't.
And you'll know why when you get to our bottoms for this year. Here's and forever will be my top 5 from 2023. Number 5 was my Sprout spokesperson commercial shoot and getting to be the fall festival spokesperson for grocery store Sprouts.
That's fun.
And it got renewed and picked up to do it again this year. So your boy's still sprouting, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, still sprouting.
Or whatever. My number 4 was NTI in Philly, exploring Philly and Austin with Kellie.
That was on my list too.
Yeah, for sure. And getting to tell personal stories from on stage. I don't exactly remember what those were, but I think they were good.
You talked about your mom being a nurse.
That would be a personal story from on stage.
Yeah.
Number 3 was on-screen class with Robert DeFonso.
Yeah.
That was a big one for me. Feels less big this year just because of the state of the industry and stuff. He's an acting coach, Robert DeFonso. If you watch The Office, he was Pam's acting coach and many, many other people. But that was a huge one. That was number 3.
Yeah.
You already knew what my number 1 was, which was Hardly Working and building our studio to do this show. But my number 2, which easily could have been my number 1, and I'm sure that I struggled with it. My number 2 was texting with Brooklyn. Our kid being able to text on an iPad.
That.
It was good times.
Wow.
Good times. Look, on my worst moments just for fun, car breakdowns. Don't even know what that is. Don't even know what we're talking about.
Car battery. Your car
is that
battery.
It? Oh, I also have flying too much and getting all messed up.
Your feet messed up. Yeah.
My whole body.
Mine was
flying.
broken pipe from the dishwasher. Broken pipe and the broken dishwasher.
Oh my gosh. And of course I have, just to make sure we all know, high anxiety on my list of worst moments. It looks like I only had 5 though, so that's pretty good.
That's so funny.
Anything else worth mentioning from your list?
No.
Well,
nothing.
Then officially, it is time to jump into the 2024 Hardly Working, Hardly Holiday Special Edition, Top Knots. You were right there for me. God, I love you.
Top Knots. Yeah, I was. I was right there. I was ready for it.
All right, Kel, would you like to start? Would you like to start?
With worst moments?
But we start with our knots. Would you like to give me one of your worst? There's more than 10 on my list, but I narrowed it down.
I didn't know there are more than 10 on my list too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. The question is, do we start with the worst of the worst to get it out of the way?
I absolutely would, because it's the number 1 on my list, even though we didn't number them. So feel free to jump on in.
Okay. Let's be clear. It was a terrible year for us. It could have been way worse.
Could have been way worse.
And that is noted by this one, is that we had one of our very close friends, their son passed away. Little Otto. There he is. If you're watching, you're able to see the picture of him because I keep this in here. Just a reminder, and we give him kisses and just tell him that we love him in his little photos here. But Otto passing away.
Yeah, so
that was the worst of the worst, but it also was a reminder in the crazy season of our life that things could be worse, and how lucky are we?
Yeah, and it's hard because we never want to lower someone to elevate another, to be well, at least we don't have it as bad as them.
Yeah.
But I really think one of the healthiest things in my life is being given perspective. Mm-hmm. And if you can't regain perspective in times of tragedy, when they're not even specifically your times of tragedy, boy, you're missing out on an opportunity, a learning experience. Because if it has to happen to you for it to make a difference to you, 1, you probably don't have a lot of empathy, but 2, you're going to have to learn the hard way. And for us, I know it was difficult, not as difficult as it is for Otto's family and our friends.
Yeah.
We try to find our position in that of how to be just, I don't know, a loving presence in their life when we're out there and throughout the year. But for anyone to lose their 3-year-old out of nowhere, just such a terrible thing. And that was 100%. There's nothing else ranked on my bottom list, but that was the highest.
Yeah. I think that's all we can say about it. But it was like the worst thing ever. And Jansen, I know Jansen listens, and like, we just love you so much. We're here for you, here for your family, always. For you, Braden Hollis. And we love little Otto Boy. I keep him here with me.
And to flip it around a little bit, while losing him was on our lowest moments, having him in the studio has been a nice little thing for us, and also just a way that we keep remembering who he was, is, and will forever be. Yeah. We love you, buddy.
Love you, buddy.
We'll see you next time. Continuing to get some of the hardest stuff out of the way, I also had a person that was very impactful, influential in my life pass away. And at least to me, a bit surprising. Yeah. I have a couple that is older than me, I've been close with for a long time. They were my life group leaders when I was attending their church, or the same church they were at. And then they moved to Texas. Craig and Christine are their names. Craig was the best man in our wedding. Mm-hmm. And Christine has always been just such a wonderful maternal figure in my life and in the life of so many people.
Yeah.
And she passed away rather unexpectedly after a short battle with cancer. Only, I'm not sure exactly the timelines, if it was like somewhere between 6 to 8 months. And man, I was caught off guard by the whole thing. I wasn't really brought in the loop. And to lose someone who's been such a consistent love and protector and what's the word? Advocate in my life was a hard thing in this year. Again, it's tough when you talk about someone passing that isn't directly close to you, because it's like, why am I talking about it when it's so much harder for someone else? But life is lived through one's own eyes. So to lose Christine was a really big hard part of this year. And my heart breaks for her husband, Craig, for her 2 kids, Destiny and Faith, and for the life that they had. She was in her 50s. And it sucks to lose someone. It sucks to lose someone when they're in their 50s. It sucks to lose someone when they're 3. It sucks to lose someone when they're 103. But at least you go, man, they really got to live a lot of life. Yeah. So losing Christine was a difficult one too. And then there was only one. There's lots of people who have come and gone in this year, but I'm wondering if you want to get all of the passing and death out of the way.
One more, but from one of my best friends, her mom, really rapidly as well. I think it was a span of maybe a month and a half, 2 months.
Yeah, about that.
Had a stroke, was found at her home unresponsive, taken to the hospital, diagnosed with cancer, stage 4 terminal cancer. And then she chose to forego any treatment and went straight into hospice and died, like I said, rather rapidly. And so one of my best friends, her mom, passed away this year. And it's a weird thing it's a weird thing in a year to have known multiple people that have passed away. It's even weirder to have different types of that, to be like, oh, this person passed away very suddenly. Oh, but this person, like, we watched pass away, and we watched, I didn't watch her physically pass away, but I watched one of my closest friends, like, go through it and grieve and process, and watched her obviously walk into that and walk up to that with the frustrations and the sadness and all the things she had going into it, to truly the moment her mom died. I think I was one of the first phone calls. I was the first phone call that she made.
Yeah.
She was with her husband, but I was the very first phone call that she made. And there's just nothing like that, to experience the hurt and the pain and the grief of someone on the other side of the phone, and truly just love them so much and not know
what to do,
what to say, or what to do, other than to just say, like, I'm here with you and I'm in it.
Yeah.
So in terms of death, there's been, I guess we could have had more. I'm grateful that there wasn't. But was quite a bit of that this year. This year we can talk about it now, I guess, as we're going through our bottoms. I think those are like the biggest ones. The rest of them get a little bit lighter after that in terms
it's
of
all
bad.
uphill from here, even in the bottoms.
Even in the bottoms.
Knots, yeah.
But I think you and I both struggled with this and had this. We talked about this. Where this year was really difficult. This was the first year that I had a really, really hard time doing my top knots.
Yeah.
Mostly because when I thought back in the year, truly, the first 3 quarters of the year is kind of a blur. And going back through, I was like, oh, wow, that happened. Oh, wow, that happened. And things that should have been a high were shrouded in just sadness.
I mean, and that is like I was going to call it an undercurrent, but that is like the hot blanket that's covered our entire year.
Yeah. So it's just been
a bad hot blanket, a wet blanket.
A wet blanket. So it's just been an interesting season doing these or going through these top knots in both the like, man, how lucky are we that we're happy, healthy, and like thriving in our own way. And at the same time, still having just a ton of crap happen as well.
Yeah.
And having a ton of amazing stuff happen and almost feeling guilty that like, man, anybody would feel so lucky to have this. And here it is like, and our runner-ups. But there is something about the emotion that's connected with those seasons or that time frame that kept it from being even higher on this list, which is okay. It's okay to have that year where you've had some, I mean, how lucky are we to have some really high highs and some really low lows to experience the fullness of life?
I mean, that's the truth. I was listening to the autobiography of Alan Watts this week, and or not auto. I think it's just a biography. Doesn't matter. But he was talking about like truly when it comes to happiness, like the only way to really fully experience happiness is by also having the sadness. And that's not like a new take. That there has to be dark with light and good and bad.
Yeah, you
and that
can't
kind of
know.
stuff.
How do you know?
But it's true. And I think even more than that, life, we say it all the time, life happens in the gray areas. You don't look back at a year and go like, what a great year. It was perfect. Yeah. And most of the time you don't do the opposite. Maybe if you're thrown in prison for something you didn't do, you might be like, this whole year sucked.
Yeah.
But even that, we'd be like, I made a new friend with the guards.
Yeah.
I think that's life. I wanted to say this to you, but also to Annie and everybody who's listening. You know, as we jumped in with kind of the heaviest parts of our life, I realized like there is always something a little performative about this show. And that's a big part. Kellie mentioned it earlier. A less performative version of our show will be like Hardly Working Through It, where we can just kind of give you some real unfiltered thoughts. Man, for however we can, I'd love to just jump into the rest of our knots and our tops and let everybody hear us just have the normal conversation.
For sure.
Not that it won't be fun and entertaining, but like, if you've ever wondered what it sounds like when we're talking about this, I think it's time we do it that way.
Sure.
We love you guys. Hopefully you'll stick around. But to your point about that, let's continue on our knots and get the heck out of here fast.
I know. Gosh, our knots are so low. Okay.
I know. And that's the thing. And this is part of what I mean, everyone, is this episode is definitely going to be long and it's going to be a lot because there's just so much to talk about. And unfortunately, there's a lot to talk about and to be learned from the knots this year.
Yeah.
So I think it's just going to kind of be like that. Are you ready to jump into the rest of them that are not nearly as heavy, but kind of all swirl into what the year we have had is?
Yes.
Hit me with your next one.
Gosh, I need to like mark off the ones that I've done. Sorry that I wasn't doing that while we're doing this. Another really hard thing for me, it's so weird. Some of these things are like both good and bad, but like we're hard, but like I have a positive outlook on it as well. So it might be in my knots because I don't necessarily want to do that.
Yeah, like we said, it's gray sometimes.
And
could
so
be both.
I also apologize if I cry, which you're used to.
Yeah.
Not a big deal.
Hey, I told them they're going to get the real you.
I know. Sorry. It's just so top knots. I mean, let's get to the good ones. This year, while I'm really proud of my mom looks amazing and great. My mom has type 2 diabetes, had that as long as since like high school. I don't like really remember. But she is like really on it and taking care of herself. And I'm really, really proud of her. And you've heard it said that like in your 30s is when you start taking care of your parents in certain ways as they get older. And I'm really grateful that I have such a good relationship with my mom and my dad. Sorry, I don't know why I'm so emotional.
You're good.
It's because I love them. Sorry, don't mind me getting my tissues.
We already had tissues.
I'm on it. I was ready. Just already talking about emotional stuff. And so, but this year I've had the privilege of being able to take my mom to some of her doctor visits for different things like that. And she's like such a champion. I know what it's like to have any type of needle injected into a place that it shouldn't. Like, I don't know, my hand for my 15 stitches that I get those like hydraulic needles into.
Kidding? You've had literally over 100 CO2 and like forced injections into your hand.
Steroid shots, into there, which freaking hurt. So I know that it hurts, but my mom's had to get them in her eye. Not those, thank God, but had to get shots in her eyes to help with some of her stuff. And I know that she's scared and she still doesn't, and she's a champion. That has been a not for me because I know that she dreads it. I know she doesn't like shots. I don't like shots, but it's also like this weird thing where I'm like, what a privilege it is to be able to like take care of my mom and her trust me enough to like be in the room with her or take her or talk to me about it, or like she's not embarrassed or doesn't feel bad. Not that she should feel that way at all, but like I think about myself and go like, of course I want you there, but like also in certain things I'm like, but that's weird that like you're there for that. Do you know what I mean?
Ram Dass talks about that quite a bit when he talks about conscious aging, specifically with him being his primary caregiver for his father as his father passed. And he talks about how his father used to change his diapers and now he changes his father's diapers.
Yeah.
And
it's
how
a beautiful thing.
It is. Well, it can be.
It's beautiful and sad.
Yeah. I wish I had that perspective when my dad was in diapers and dying.
Yeah.
But I was too busy with living to understand what it meant to be dying. Ram Dass talks about how, and this is from the 70s and stuff, it's a while, but he says, I can see the dots and the lines on my hands that my dad had, and it's beautiful. And we talk about aging as if it's a problem rather than built into the system. When the leaves turn colored in the fall, we don't say, get out the green paint, we got to fix this. We say it's beautiful. Yet aging is always a problem. And it's weird. You've said this a lot this year. Like, be kind to your parents. It's their first time too. Like, it's their first time living.
Yep.
And the more I live, and I know this is true for you too, the more you just experience the things that were never true until they were. That, like, here's an example. When my dad died when I was a teenager, and I always thought that that was very unique to me to have lost a parent at that young of an age.
Yeah.
Now I'm seeing it happen all over because I'm in my 30s and people are losing parents and loved ones and things like that. And it's no longer unique to me, and it's no longer, I don't want to use the word special, but like special to me because ultimately all of this happens to everyone.
100%.
And I think sometimes you just gotta, like, there's certain things like being a parent where it's like, you don't get it until you get there. And I think learning how to transition from being your parents' kid to your parents' new thing is something that many people have to do, but it's tricky because no one tells you what's going to happen or how to navigate it, whether that's being a peer or a friend to your parent or a caregiver to your parent or a financial contributor to your parent, whatever it is. There's just no real roadmap, and people, at least in my circles, haven't either been talking about it or haven't experienced it yet to talk about it. So it's just one of those tricky things.
I need you to move on. Love you so much. I can't sit in this.
Well, let's talk about something way more fun. Let's talk about the thing that started it all, our car crash.
Oh my gosh.
So for those of you who need a little recap, in March, we were actually in this very studio and we finished wrapping up an episode. We went to go pick up our kid. Before we could get there, we got T-boned in an intersection on the driver's side, of which I was driving. Airbags all deployed. The driver ran out. Hit and run. The short of the story is
they never caught him.
No. And they were like, it's not going to happen. We're like, okay, great. But the short of the story is right after I think this is going to spiral into a lot of our bottoms here. So car crash happens. The next day, black eye and all, I am on a plane to San Antonio to be on the road for 9 gigs in San Antonio and then Nashville. So you're dealing with all the insurance stuff on your own. I'm trying to figure out how to be on stage for almost 10 days with my face looking like I just got in a car crash. And then in the midst of that, I'm sure this one's got to be on your knots.
Oh, I'll take it. It's okay. Yeah. In the midst of having a rental car, you being gone, I'm coming home from a gig to a house that's flooded with outside rainwater because the roofers put a hole in our roof. And it was all in Brooklyn's room and all in all of our carpet and over a ton of our stuff everywhere.
Every single room of our house.
To which who was already emotional because my car had been crashed into and I'm in a rental car and my husband's out of town. And so I'm trying to figure all this out on my own. And now breaking down in the middle of the night, having to call my mother-in-law.
At 1 a.m.
To come and help me because she lives 5 minutes down the street. And then I stayed in this house for 2 days while I waited for you to come home because I was like, where do I go and what do I do? I should have taken anybody up on any of the offers. Troy offered. He was like, come stay at my guest house. I should have gone and done it. I regret some of those things. I was just so sad.
Yeah.
In that, though, I had people come, like Ashley May showed up and helped me go through a bunch of the things.
The very next
move
day.
a ton of stuff. My parents came, helped me move a bunch of stuff. And then we lived with your mom and your sister for 2.5 months, which was hard and beautiful.
Yeah, it was both. And I think as hard as all these moments are, they're on the not list. There's definitely some things to be grateful for and some things to be given out there. The fact that we had a place to stay with my mom for those 2.5 months.
That Brooklyn had her own room too.
That Brooklyn had her own room. We weren't just staying in a hotel. We weren't sharing a room. We weren't just in a random place. Huge thank you and shout out to my mom for allowing us to take over 2 rooms in her house and all of the help that she did in terms of the condo and the renovations and that kind of stuff. I have to give a huge shout out to Ryan, your brother,
and
your mom and dad. Don't forget your mom. She put her foot on the floor sometimes.
She did.
For doing the renovations with us and at times just doing the renovations. Why can't I say that
Renovations.
word? Yeah, doing those. We couldn't have gotten that stuff taken care of, installed, or happening without them. Mm-hmm. So just definitely wanted to give those 2 groups a big shout out for letting us somehow try to exist, manage, and get through that season. We couldn't have done it without my mom and this side of the family or your side of the family.
Just come both together. Man, we're loved. How cool is that?
It is really cool.
Yeah, you know, while it was difficult to live at someone else's house, not for any reason other than like to not have your own space after having your own space for so long is hard.
Sure.
Or to miss some of your creature comforts of things that you would do. You know, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's some of my favorite times because I really you said this at some point, like there are many times that you'd walk by and you'd be like, where's Kellie? And I would just be in your mom's room and we would just be having a conversation without you, just us two girls.
Yeah, it was really
gabbing.
Sweet. Just
talking about life.
Just a couple of
like
yappers.
It's some of my favorite moments from last year.
Really?
Or from this year. Oh, well.
Technically last year.
Technically last year. You know
Depending
what I mean?
on when you're watching this. Well, if you're watching it at all or listening at all last year. I agree. And there was I think that was one of my big takeaways from that season too. And I've expressed this to them as well, like my mom and my sister. And I was like, as much as we wouldn't want to go through a flood and a renovation and all that stuff, like I said, essentially, I think I got more time spent with my mom in those 2.5 months than I probably was going to get with the remainder of my life. Because just by the fact that we were there every single day, at least that we were there, I have more info on that later in terms of where I was when all of this was happening too. That's just time that we'll never get back, or that we never would have had in the first place. Yeah. So there's definitely some, like I said, life happens in the gray. And while it was bad that everything flooded, the amount of time I got with my family was incredible. You just described that, great.
It was nice. And there was a dog, which was nice. It's always nice to have an animal.
Expected that to be on your tops.
It's not. It was great.
I will say this as we kind of continue in this. One of the reasons we definitely didn't rank it this year in terms of the knots was like there was so much happening all at once. And I realized that as you're talking, like the car crash happened and I left the next day. I'm pretty sure that I had my last night's sleep in our house in March and got back in June or July,
whenever we moved.
we moved back in.
Moved back in officially.
Yeah, because after the car crash, I left the next day and I wasn't home for like 10 days. In the middle of that was when the flood happened, and you actually didn't leave the house until I got back. So like,
I know I should have, but I was like, where do I do? Where do I go? You know, honestly, it felt like, what if it gets worse? Someone should be here.
That's
all
true.
of our stuff was just like I had been moving it from one place to another, trying to figure out where the water wasn't.
Yeah.
And allow them to get in. And plus they were getting in with like hot heater. There's just so much happening every day. I was like, someone should be here.
Yeah. It was bad. And it contributed to a lot of bad moments, bottom moments for my year. But before we get too far off of the actual moments, the flood was bad. Mm-hmm. But so was the second flood.
I knew you were going to say that.
The second flood of the year
wasn't as bad as the first one.
No,
it was definitely more water than I like on the floor and stuff. But like, I don't know. We talked about this. You can go back and listen to it. But you laughed at me for sweeping water out, and then you were like, you were actually really smart. And I was like, I know.
That's how we work, though. Because I'm like,
Truly.
Kelly.
He was like, this freaking
like,
idiot.
Look how it worked.
Yeah, I was like, it's going to get all the water out, though. It has to go somewhere. It can't just sit in here.
It's true. And ultimately, she swept it all out. Every drop she swept out.
Except for what you guys put like these big towels over. I was like, guys, that's piles of water. Sweep it.
I can't even go into the details of that in my brain because even though it was a lesser flood in the terms of renovation, we had we had finished our house, all new floors, all new everything, and it just got totally ruined. It was like, twice in 1 year.
That's okay.
Crazy. That's one of my bottoms. What about you?
I have some lighter ones. This was not a bottom altogether, but the bottom of it was the hot tub. The Sweeney weekend vacation to Visalia, where the only thing that everyone wanted was a hot tub, and it was the only thing that didn't work. That was like hidden somewhere on the Airbnb page of the Airbnb that we rented, where it was like,
how's a hot tub?
It doesn't work. Yeah. And my brother got really sick too when we were out there.
Other than that, though,
it was a pretty good weekend.
Good.
That was like, it was like a bummer for that.
That's so funny. I truly forgot about the whole hot tub situation.
I knew you would.
I can't believe it made your top bottoms.
Well, I mean, anything
your
that was a bottom
knots.
was a bottom. Do you have more bottoms? Or
I've got a lot of bottoms.
Okay, let's go. I mean,
hey, just one over here. I'll try to burn through of them. Some of them kind of quick.
Because I have some, but
Let's see. Gosh, this one. I literally felt it as I read it. Finding out that I was double booked for an event.
Forgot about this.
And Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Because the dates had extended, and boy, did I have to suffer the wrath.
Yeah, she was not nice to you.
Of this person. And you know what? I'd probably feel the same way. I wouldn't have acted that way. This was also, and I didn't realize this, babe, when I had to make that phone call and be like, hey, here's what's going on. Here's what I can do to fix it. Here's the solutions. Here's all this stuff. It was like the highest of my anxiety, I think.
Yeah.
It was in May, which is in the midst of Otto's passing, the car crash, the flood.
I do remember that.
Still doing gigs in the midst of it. Then having to find this out and be like, I have to just own this and just go for it. And for it to be received so poorly.
She was not nice.
And I've been able to kind of let it go because I know that I did everything I could.
The person that replaced you did an excellent job.
Yeah, exactly. And I know the result was great.
Yeah.
Just as good, if not better, than me being there. But I just don't have a lot of people in my life who I know vehemently are angry with me.
She's not angry with you anymore.
She might be. I mean, what's she going to be happy about? All I know is it was in the midst of all of the other chaos in my life. Not that I could, bring that up or talk about. Like, my whole life is upside down.
I think I did send an email to her that kind of said what we was going through. I don't really remember.
I don't know. But I also knew I was like, I can't make an excuse for this. And they've got me under contract over here that they can do this, and they did. And it's just bad timing. But I really had to let down a few people. And it was the first time I think I've had to do that. And it really, really sucked. And in the midst of all of that, it was just insult to injury. Because we were already going through so many things in our life. And
I know.
It's still like, I've not forgotten about it. I've moved on from it. But the guilt or the badness that I feel about it is still there. In the midst of that, there's two other things I want to sprinkle in that kind of hit my not list. This year in 2020, so last year in 2024, I had a significant amount of conflict with my family that isn't normal.
Funny, I wrote that on here.
On your knots?
Yeah, it wasn't even mine. It just was yours.
I mean, my problems and conflict
Well,
and all that?
I mean, we're just so intertwined that anything that affects you, while we can give each other perspective, it still hurts.
Yeah.
It's still hard to watch you go through that, and as the third or fourth party in this, rather be like, I just don't get it. Or I see both sides, or I understand why you're feeling this way, or understand why they're saying this, or like, man, that wasn't fair. Like, I think I just kind of see it all in the same way that you would see that with me and my family.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it.
But it comes with its own sort of pressures, because it's like, it's the literal definition of between a rock and a hard place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it definitely... I know
trying
you're
to
stuck.
hold them both.
I know, and that's a sucky position for you to be in. Thankfully, it's not.
Well, also being married to the rock.
You're married
not
to the rock?
but to my rock.
I
Who
wouldn't
I'm
even
like,
be mad.
But I'm gonna lean in more towards you.
Yeah, while parts of it are my story to tell, I don't feel like I wouldn't talk about the details. It's not who I am.
Not here. I'm hardly working through it. Maybe.
Maybe.
I'm just kidding.
But I would. It's definitely, as I went through my calendar.
Yeah.
It was pervasive enough into my schedule in my life that I was like, dang, this is the first year that I can look back and be like, there was significant conflict and problems that really impacted me deeply. And that was a really hard part of my year. Yeah. Of course, that's not to say that there weren't great parts. Everything's fine with me and all of my family.
Yeah, of course.
It just was hard to realize that. So that was one of the things the reason I bring it up right now is because that was also in the midst. Two of those really big blow-ups, two of the huge blow-ups were in the midst of car crash, flood, living together, autos passing.
I don't remember. Oh, I do remember.
All at the same time.
I remember now.
And not only that, let me sprinkle in a few things. I stopped counting. You said we were out of our house for 2.5 months. I stopped counting at 25 days in terms of days that I was on the road in the midst of this.
Yeah.
It was over 15 gigs, probably over 20 gigs that you and I had during those 2.5 months in the midst of all of the stuff we've described, the deaths, the floods, the car crashes, all of that, and still to be on the road and still try to be meeting business expectations as best as we can.
And if I can say this year I made the most money in a year I've ever made.
Save it for your tops, lady.
It's not on my tops.
What?
It should have been. There's pieces of this that are on my tops, which I guess that I thought about it should have been on my tops, but
it's on my tops, baby.
Well,
so I'll talk about it.
Can't wait
later.
But just to give perspective, like in this, I think this was my second year in business and my first year that I had at least 3 events happening every month on top of all of your events that normally happen as well. Like that didn't stop. And there were more than 3 on some months.
There was more than 3 on some days.
I know. I was going to say, well, only 3. That was on my top knots as my triple gig day. While it was very cool and I had a lot of fun doing all the different gigs, it was exhausting and the most anxiety I'd felt since watching Inside Out 2.
Which also happened right around the same time.
Right around the same time, yeah. So that was on my knots.
Oh my gosh.
Anything else on your knot? I have a couple. Can I go through them?
Yeah, please.
So there's that one. There's the flash fuse issue that happened.
Exploding flashes.
The exploding flashes is on your knots.
My knots. Sorry, we use it interchangeably.
Yeah, on your knot list where we would literally be at events and the fuse to our flash would go off. And so then our flash wouldn't be working anymore. And then that's the thing that really helps to take the pictures clearly. And so we'd be freaking out. And at one of the events, we were double booked. I was at another event. My event had already started. It was a half hour in and you were calling me to be like, the fuse just broke and I don't have an extra one. And so they were trying to help me figure it out. It all worked out. It was all great, but it was a knot for me.
It was a knot. Oh boy. It was a huge knot for me.
Or a little?
I have one more. The exploding flashes was a huge knot for me.
I have 2 more.
Go ahead.
So I'll save my, well, actually 3 more. My ring cracking.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
My ring broke, and thank God for Marty, who is
shout out to Marty,
mom's neighbor, who is a jeweler and
Mad Mardigan, always
in the neighborhood. He's great. He's fixed it like twice now. I feel so grateful, but I'm having issues with my ring, and that is a very sad thing for me because I chose rose gold, which I love rose gold.
Yeah.
but it's a very weak metal. And so it does get pushed around by my beautiful bands that I have. Can you see that? They're right there.
And everyone knows when the marital band breaks, the marriage is over.
That's right. Happened to you once, right?
That actually did happen to me.
Not to me.
Directly at the same time, but a wedding ring did break. And then I did get divorced. So,
but not to me.
Uh-oh.
Election night in Salt Lake City.
That's on my honorable mentions of knots.
That's on my knot.
We went pretty in depth on that.
We did.
Hardly working through it.
But there's nothing like bringing in the winner for any competition surrounded by
the opposing team. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know how else to say it.
When you were so confident that you would win. So that was a knot for me. And to be in a different state, and that is like not in line with our state. It was just a lot.
Yeah, look, and not to make it political, because that's not the goal here, but it's like if you were watching the World Series, let's say it's the Dodgers and the Yankees, and you're a huge Dodger fan, and you're like, I'm going to go watch Game 7 at a Yankees bar, and you do it, and then the Yankees win, and you're like, I probably shouldn't have been hanging around Yankees fans because I feel worse.
I mean, I'm just going to be honest and say it. Like, it is the truth. You just see the difference. It's just difference being in a blue state versus a red state. It doesn't matter who it is. It could be Donald Trump or RFK Jr. or Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders isn't a
He's a Democrat.
He's a Democrat. Okay, and it could be anybody. Kamala, Biden. It doesn't matter who it is. It's just always different when you guys celebrate differently or get defeated differently. And it was like such an eye-opening thing. I was like, when Republicans lost last time, they stormed the Capitol. When the Democrats lost this time, we put up Christmas lights early.
Ours were already up. But yes,
it's just kind of the same feel. And even going back to that day, I was like, it was such a sad thing for me because I wanted a woman to be president. It was a big deal. And then at like 1 o'clock in the morning, here they are, fireworks going off all throughout Salt Lake. Yeah. Just loud. And I'm like, celebrate. That's so cool. Also, some of us are mourning. And how weird. Yeah. And it was really the aftermath for me where like I told you for a while, it was hard to walk into any store for that first couple of weeks because everyone I looked at, I was like, I don't trust you. Mm-hmm. Specifically here in California.
Well, it's a little bit like how if you've seen any of the Teslas rolling around LA that have bumper stickers that like say, I bought this before I knew Elon was crazy. It's kind of what you're describing.
Funny, yeah.
You're like, no one knows where I stand, but I want people to know like I'm an ally to the people who need allies. And,
but also I'm hurting and in pain too. And I'm pretty sad and I'm pretty nervous and pretty scared about next year too. Or the next 4 years. Starting this year.
I think we're a couple weeks away. Well,
but it doesn't matter. Anyways, so
we'll be here, hardly working through it together.
Was that on your not list?
It was on my honorable mentions. I have one left. Do you have any more?
I have one left.
Then why don't you give me your one? I'll give you my last one, and then we'll get to the good stuff.
Okay. My last one is, if you remember, we talked about this on a podcast already.
Oh, I wonder if it's the same.
It's the church family reunion thing that we did.
It's not the same. Okay.
But mine is twofold now.
Because let's talk about it.
I don't want to get too into detail.
Let's talk about it on Hardly Working Through It. No. Subscribe now. It's available.
But this is what I want to say, is that I told my parents, and I love them and they know this, but I said, I don't think I can come to any more of these things because when I come here, I feel like not really accepted by these people that like I grew up with, that like we served together. We did like stuff at the church together. Like we were very involved. I grew up with these kids that like, I just don't really know them now and that's okay. But I would never be mean to them. If anything, I like keep up on Instagram and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I saw you did this. Like, how's that? How's your baby doing? All these things. They like ignore me every single time. And it's really hurtful because I'm like, I don't really know what I did. Sometimes I feel like I'm a bad person because I'm like, I'm not going to that church anymore.
Right. You know? Like, I guess I could be bad just because I'm not a part of the group here.
But I found out this later on this year from someone that I trust very much. I found out that no, these people that have both pretended to be my friend and also ignored me simultaneously actually don't like me because of something.
That's not the phrase. You can't even say the phrase.
What's the phrase?
So they freaking hate you.
Oh, they freaking hate me.
And even that is not the phrase they use.
They effing hate me. because of something that happened in middle school. I just need you to know that I'm a 33-year-old woman and I graduated high school in 2010. It is 2025. So it was 15 years ago that I graduated high school. Add another 4 on. That's almost 20 years since middle school. And they're a little bit younger than me, like maybe a year or two. So we'll call it 20 years. It's been 20 years. Is that right?
Sure.
Yeah. That would put me at 13.
Sure. I wasn't expecting to answer a math question. I wasn't keeping track of the numbers.
18 to 20 years since whatever I did to these people, and they're still holding on to it, so much so that they effing hate me, and they tell people this.
Yeah. What?
I'm like,
How?
I don't even see you, nor do I know you, nor am I the same person. But let me take the moment now. Not that they listen, because why would they? They effing hate me. I'm sorry for whatever I did in middle school. I don't know what it is. Like I said, that was like 20 years ago. I'm a different person now. I've grown up. I've moved on. I've learned. I've hit the mic a million times. I don't know. But I'm sorry. I don't want to be your friend. So it's okay. We don't need to like make up or anything. But I'm sorry that hurt your feelings. Because I don't think I don't want you to live with that feeling of that. But I really don't need to be your friend. I don't need it.
Dang.
I don't need to be friends with anyone that's going to hold a grudge for 20 years and pretend to want to be my friend and tell me multiple times that they want to hang out with me and they like want to connect. And for me to be like, wow, this person likes me and that's great. Like I've always wanted to be close to this person and I haven't been. And now all of a sudden I'm finding out they've hated me this whole time. I don't need to be your friend. I'm cool. I have enough, which is way different than a couple years ago when I was like, it's hard to make friends in your 30s. And if you've kept up with all of that because I talk really, really fast and you're able to understand every single piece of that, congratulations. We're now friends. Okay.
And there's some openings to fill. So that's good news for you.
But that might be petty of me. I don't really care. I'm just like, if you hate me, you hate me. That's fine. I don't know what I did. But 20 years is a long time to hold on to something, don't you think?
Yeah, especially without addressing it.
But with telling other people. That's exactly what the Bible tells you to do. Okay.
Mine's not nearly as heavy as that. I should have saved something
it's okay. Go for
heavier for last. It'll transition us to the nuts.
It's good.
Or the tops.
Oh, no.
Who knows? The top of the nuts.
The top of the nuts. What is it?
Babe, I'm surprised it didn't come up on your list.
I probably just forgot.
That time you let me down? You're right. It wouldn't be on anyone's list because you've never let me down.
I was like, what time did I let you down?
The last thing on my knots was not doing our 5-year anniversary party.
Yeah. That was really sad. I really wanted to do that.
We were going to do a big 5-year anniversary party in May, and it was just in the midst of basically everything we've just been talking about for the last hour.
So we didn't do it.
No.
Maybe we'll do a 6-year anniversary.
Who said it? Was it Shim? She's like a 5+1. Or someone said that. I was like, I could do a 5+1. It's all about branding. I could do that.
5+1 years. Everybody come join us.
Well, thank God we are done with the knots.
Thank God.
Kelly mentioned it earlier, and it just feels like it bears repeating. We both separately did our lists, but came back together and were like, was this a good year? Because I don't feel good about the calendar I just went through.
No. But I am ready to, we've now spent almost an hour going through our knots. So let's get into our tops because this is a freaking long episode. Let's go.
We said we would.
Let's
but
go.
The good news is we're about to jump into the tops. So all the knots are behind. We're going in with that good stuff.
Yeah.
Kelly, hit me with number 10.
I'm going to give my runner-up number 11.
What? It's not even do that. What is your number 11?
I'm going to give you 11, then I'll give you 10. But 11 first.
Oh my gosh.
I just need to say it because it was on my runner-ups, but I couldn't just leave it in my runner-ups. I really needed it to be somewhere good. And so it is number 11, but it is the top of my runner-ups, but technically a runner-up. And then I'll give you number 10.
Just give me 11,
is
lady.
Laser hair, tattoo removal, dentist therapy, high-yield savings account. All of the adult things we did this year was a good for me. It wasn't good enough to be on my top 10, but it was good enough.
I have it as my number 8. Do you want to talk about it when we get there?
Yeah.
All right, so give me your
number
your
10 would not be on your list. Is my Salt Lake City trip with Ashley May.
Wow. So you guys flew out for work with Delta.
Yes, we flew out for work on Delta, for Delta, to Salt Lake City.
That is synergy.
And we were there a day early, which was great. It was right after Ashley May's mom
had passed away.
Truly days after. I was like, she's not going to come. And she's like, I'm going to go. I was like, oh my God.
What a rock star.
And it was the first time in a long time where, we didn't just stay in a hotel room. We went out and did stuff because our tendency is we do get out, but we tend to stay in a hotel room. So I was in Park City for the first time, which I'd never been to Park City. It was snowing, which was like
fun.
Great. When I went back the next week, it was not snowing.
Oh yeah, we're back there next week.
It was flurrying, but it wasn't snowing. But it was nice to be in Park City, where I've never been, in the snow. We went to like a cute little restaurant. Then we went to a breakfast place before we flew out the next morning. We just had a really great time. It was really fun. And I think it's what we both needed.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was my number 10.
Speaking of your Salt Lake trip, one of the moments that's not on my list, but is a part of those Salt Lake trips was getting to have dinner with our DB, not all of our DB family, but or not of all. Yeah, like we didn't get to see our Lost Coast fam and
B2
our
fam.
B2 fam, but getting some time. Warrens. Yeah, it was really, really cool. And I struggled to do that type of stuff. And I just love them so much. So that was good.
Yeah.
It was really good.
What's number 10?
My number 10, which also made my confusing weird moments kind of, was my NTI breakout.
That's on my list.
On your tops? Mm-hmm. Okay. You want to talk about it when we get there?
No, you can talk about it now.
So
I'm not going to talk about it.
Okay. Well, so it like made right my weird list too, because everything leading up to it was weird.
Yeah.
It was just tricky. But for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, I, with my friend John, got to do a breakout for nurses about burnout in nursing. He is a nurse. I am me. Essentially, when these nurses come to conferences, they have to take the CEs, continuous education credits. And I didn't know how many people are going to show up to this thing. I was like, I said in my head, like anywhere from 50 to 200 would be like, I'm happy with that.
Try 1,000 in an overflow room.
It was really cool. So our room was set up for 900, which we found out 2 days prior. And I was like, why? And like Kelly said, they sold out, or they filled up the entire room and had to open up an overflow. And while that's a cool metric, it doesn't necessarily give you the metric of success or not, which they gave us a lot of that. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't read all 16, 18 pages of
I read most of it.
But I will say the amount of people, men and women, in other, I guess, who came up to me in tears after made it all worth it. I don't know if I'll ever get the opportunity to do it again or asked to do it again, but so many people who were saying, I wasn't even going to come this year. I've never been. I saw your breakout and I was like, you know what? I'll at least try that. So they bought a plane ticket and a hotel and a ticket to the conference. And they were like, this is, if I get nothing else, this is what I needed. So many people saying, I haven't been able to put to words what you talked about. So many people saying, my story is just like your story. And you're just 5 years ahead of me. And thank you, because I didn't think it gets any better.
Yeah.
Just so many stories like that. So it had to make my list, because you and I are people who really value pouring into people and giving to people and loving people. And to be able to do that on that literal stage was definitely had to make it on my top 10.
Right, do you want me to talk about it? I'll talk about it.
Sure. Talk about it.
This is also on my list. I won't tell you what number until we get there.
Okay.
But it's on my list.
Dang, girl. That's surprisingly high.
But I won't tell you my number until we get there.
If you're not like, well, I mean, it was number 9. I was going to talk about it anyway.
Well, I was really proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
It was the first time that you were really open and honest about your story. And I think it was the first step in you reclaiming your side, not just your side, but your story, which is something you struggled to do because you really value making people feel comfortable and not making people feel crappy and not talking poorly about people, which has been something we've talked about a lot this year of like, just because you're sharing your story doesn't mean that you're talking crap about other people. It means that you're sharing your experience and your side of the story, and that has value and that is important as well. And you can't just, the only person protecting your story and who you are is you. The other person isn't doing the same, like other people aren't doing the same thing. And so for you to get to like talk about like your divorce and like kind of that experience and how that made you feel and all of that stuff and tie it to burnout in a season where, let's be clear, we were burnt out.
In May?
It was really, really cool.
In May 18th through the 24th or whatever, like that was the thick of it.
But it was really, really cool for me. And I was really proud of you. And I was happy that I got to be there and I got to watch it happen. It was really fun and cool to see the impact you made on the people that stayed. And like you said, I watched them cry with you and talk with you, or people say things to you throughout the rest of the conference. So it was a really cool moment for me. And I was really, really proud of you. And you and John tend to lean into the funny, but I think that you really leaned into like the more vulnerable side of you.
Thank you.
And I really do think it started this journey for you where you have gotten to a place now where you're able to say like, this is my story and I'm allowed to talk about it and share it. I don't have to protect the other person. I don't have to be mean, but I can share my story authentically and genuinely, and it can be mine. And it doesn't, me sharing my story doesn't mean that I'm talking or being mean to this other person. It's me sharing my story.
Yeah.
Both can coexist in a safe place.
They're not mutually exclusive. I don't think I'm there yet I don't think I feel internally the way that you're expressing externally, but I do see how I'm on that path. And it's a big part of why we're transitioning into 2 different shows this year is so we can have a place to really authentically talk about that stuff. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I was raised in, I don't even mean this in my family, although I'm sure there's some truth to that. But I was raised in church so much so that I knew that I was never going to talk about what happened and my experience because it was so important to me not to put somebody else down. Mm. Not that, I see I'm already like hedging my bets here.
Don't do it.
Let me just say, thank you for saying that. You're welcome. It means a lot to me that it made it on your list. And I had NTI as a whole make my runner-ups. Mm-hmm. And if you'll allow me to read you what I wrote there, it says this, NTI, so many people came to our breakout, but Kellie got a lot of the attention she deserves for being amazing.
Aw. I don't remember that. You can't close that because you need your computer.
Hardly working. Couple examples. One, it was your second year out there with me.
Second.
You have integrated with the girls there, the team that runs it.
Yeah, they're so sweet.
So well. They're so sweet, but they're also, I don't mean that they are exclusionary, but they love who they love and they work with who they have to work with.
Yeah.
And it's been so fun to watch so many of them fall in love with you.
That's sweet.
As I have, and I've seen so many people do over these last few years. But not only that, we had specific people on the show be like, hey, can I book you, Kellie, on my gigs? Like, SP's great. We love me, whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
No, I want to book you. And for you as doing a PA job, a personal assistant job, essentially, if you are able to show even just enough of what you do to someone for them to go like, oh, I would pay this person to do this for me too, or to do this at my events. Like, I just loved getting to see that part of you shine. Because like you shine in your business and you shine in your personal life, but to see people in the professional realm, and NTI is like a professional conference.
Yeah,
this is not like, this is not
a backyard,
something thrown together. This is like an established 50-year institution.
Yeah, 100%.
And for those people to be like, she's great. It was one of my, not quite my top knots of the year.
Yeah.
But
gosh,
a runner-up that you were getting a lot of the credit you deserve.
Thanks, babe.
So that was my number 10, I guess.
Yeah. My number 9. We got to start going. I know.
Yeah.
My Knoxville trip to Andy and Hannah.
Oh, and that was number 2
9.
or 1 from last year. Is your trip to Florida with them?
Disneyland. Yeah, with you too. Yeah, you know, like I said, the first half of the year is kind of shrouded in a bunch of sadness and like almost like a covering of like, can I really lock in with that feeling that I had? So I am very aware that most of my tops
are from the
last 3 months.
Yeah.
But when I looked back on it, I was like, yeah, that was such a fun time. I got to watch Ray, their dog Ray, graduate from his puppy training. Graduate. Ray. But yeah, I got to hang out with them and we went moonshine taste testing. Got to see Mandy and Travis. I got to see the new restaurant. We really just got to be lazy and hang out. And it was just so fun to be around these people that like, I've known Andy since I was in middle school. So like, it's a 20-year friendship right there. I've already done the math. So, but you know what I mean? Like I've just known her for so long and obviously love Hannah. So it was just such a nice thing to be able to get time with them. And it was weird because I think I had spent the year going, man, like we didn't get a chance to like hang out with them this year. And then I was like, wait, I did. I like went and hung out with them for like a couple of days, like a whole weekend. It was so great.
It was really cool. Yeah. So, it's weird because that didn't even feel like this year until I saw it on our calendar. I was like, oh, dang, what a year.
I know. But I miss them.
You know what's interesting? I don't think I mentioned this because we've kind of talked about how difficult this year is overall and how that's what the vibe of the year was. But I really had to kick some really cool things off of my top 10 list. Mm-hmm. So like, I really do like this. My number 9 was D23.
Oh, fun.
not just D23, that's Disney's D23 Ultimate Fan Expo, where me and the crew, Corey, Kibo, Sasha, Sky, we got to do all the pre-show in the Honda Center for every night of D23.
Yep.
So we played games with the entire arena.
Yeah.
We DJ'd, we hosted. It was a blast. It was great times. That was fun, but that wouldn't have been enough to make it on my list.
No.
It was having the time with you and B come out and us go to Disneyland for the first couple days.
Yep.
Having you and B there was great. And then, I forgot. That was also the gig I left my turntables at home and had to get them at like midnight.
Gosh, yeah.
That's a knot. But the top part was kind of like what I was saying with NTI. I guess what I wrote was Kellie being a part of the group with a heart. And I just thought a lot about you coming into the team that was already there and just being so welcomed and loved by them up at the rooftop bar, seeing the fireworks from Disney at the rooftop bar while we all shared drinks and hung out. You going to Disneyland and getting a reservation at Din Tai Fung 2 hours early so we could do our gig and then meet you and with the whole team and do ice cream and ice cream. We did that after that, but do Din Tai Fung and shout out to Corey for paying for everybody's dinner that night. Thank you, Corey.
Thanks,
You're
Corey.
a rock star. But for you to be there and just, it never, maybe it's because I'm married to you, but it never felt like, this is so awesome and Kellie's here too. It always felt like you were a part of it. Yeah. And
thanks for saying that.
That was a big highlight, D23, having you out there.
Yeah, that made it on my runner-up because it was also the first time I got to go into D23.
Yeah.
Which was cool.
Thank
that
you
was like an exciting thing.
Got to see
the TARDIS and the Taylor Swift thing, and we got to see your friends from Marvel, and got to walk through the Loki thing, which was like so fun for me because I freaking love Loki. So that was really cool.
That is cool. What's your number 8?
My number 8 is funny because it coincides with one of the biggest things on our knots list.
Yeah.
But this was the redecorating of our house.
That's number 4 for me.
And loving it more, as well as like the conversations with your mom that were had because we weren't living.
Oh, I see how you've combined the two. Kind of that season, redoing our house.
But our house is a big one for me. I know that it seems low, and I guess because it's your number 4. But I love our house. I love walking into our home. I love our floors. I love the colors of our walls. I love our new furniture. I love the way our room feels now that we've switched it around. I love Brooklyn's room. I love the bathroom and the butt vase I have that you guys always make fun of me for. Like, I love it. I love every single thing. It is.
It's a good butt in our bathroom.
It's a mold.
And that's where butts belong. It's a mold.
I'm just kidding. Of mine. I'm
yours?
just kidding. Yeah, that was a joke. You said it's a nice looking butt. I said it's a mold.
Yeah.
It's not.
I was like, but the whole statue is like 4 inches tall.
I know, but it's a mold and we shrunk it down.
Yeah. Ooh. And you can buy them right now at hardlyworking.store.
There's a Kellie and an SB version.
Yeah. The SB version is not as
I'm
exciting.
just kidding.
Unless you turn it around. Okay.
They have those too.
Do they?
Yeah.
Okay. We should move on. Do you mind if I sprinkle in a little of mine? I don't want to step on your toes.
Sprinkle away, salt man.
Is there anything you haven't said about it?
No.
This was much higher on my list. It was number 4 on my list. The way I do my list too is I put 2 things side by side. And I'm like, which one was more meaningful?
Yeah.
And if it is more meaningful, it stays there. And if it doesn't, it keeps going down the list until it finds its spot. But for me, that was really high up, not just because of everything you said. I love the floors. I love the walls. I love the bathrooms. I love the living room. I love our bedroom. I love like how safe that feels now. I love Brooklyn's new room and redesign. I really am happy with so much of it. But I think it's so high on my list because of the staying power that it has.
Yeah.
Is the first time in our whole marriage and relationship where we've been like, oh, this is how we would have
decorated.
This is a space we would live in, rather than like, this is the space we have and there's not much we want to do. Yeah, exactly. Which was always good and fine. But this, in terms of staying power, has been something that's been consistently joy bringing and giving to me all, not all year, but the second half of the year. So that's why it was my number 4.
Wow.
Yeah. But my number 8 was your runner-up. My number 8 was focusing on our health.
Oh, yeah.
For me, it was starting therapy again in April, which was the perfect time to jump in. Should have done it earlier, but Lord knows I needed it then. Starting therapy, getting back to the dentist. Since COVID, I still have a crack in my tooth, which will need to get fixed. Also, be smart about eating popcorn. I'm pretty sure that's how I did it, is chomping down on too many kernels. But who knows? But doing that, getting that done and taken care of, as well as the laser away, which you can probably see on my neck right now.
We just did it yesterday.
But those big life changes, not only were they beneficial and needed, but they were scary until we did them.
Yeah.
You know, it's just in my life, there's certain things that just feel like simple things that are, as I would describe them, inovercomable hurdles. Like, yeah, I need to call the dentist, but I can't.
But I'm not.
But then when we do it, it's like, you know what? That sucked and it hurt. And they drilled into my teeth. I think I said teeth.
And I had to get a bunch of numbing in my mouth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not me, but
no,
you.
me. It was bad.
But anyway, I did, but no,
but then it's what you and I constantly live by. If you watch or listen to the show enough, you know, we have like 50,000 different mantras in our life.
Yeah.
And one of the big ones is 6 months from now, you'll wish you had done it today. Yeah. And that's why we have it so word perfect together. So
yeah, we did not. I was like, wow, we really 6 months ago.
Anyway, that's just a few of the big ways that we've done that. And I'm looking forward to continuing that pattern this year of taking care of ourselves and putting the most important things as the most important things.
Yeah.
So that's my number 8. Anything you want to, oh, you already said your stuff.
Yeah.
So what's your number 7?
My number 7 is our TikTok growth.
That's on my list too.
But it's
it's number 6, so I'll talk about it after you.
Oh, perfect. And it's not just our TikTok growth, because I thought that was really fun. It was some of the things that we did. Like I was having such a fun time, like filming the food taste tests and the the rankings and stuff like that. I'm looking forward to hopefully getting back into that per TikTok not being officially banned.
Yeah, I mean, that's not the only reason we threw the brakes on that, but part of it.
But yeah, I'm hoping that if we don't keep doing it on TikTok, that we start doing shorts like that on YouTube.
Instagram, YouTube, yeah. And you know what's funny is, like, I really didn't focus a lot on YouTube this year. And then I got an email and they were like, remember this clip? And it was a clip from our show. And it was like, it got 8,000 plays. And I was like, that's not a low amount.
No, yeah.
Like,
we just need to get back into it. Yeah.
There's just so much to focus on. That was actually my number 6, so slightly higher than yours. For some context, if you don't remember or didn't know, we just decided, like, hey, we got to get on TikTok in July. We posted our first video July 1st. And by July 31st, were there 31 days in July?
We had 13,000 followers.
We were
10,
over 10,000, and right now we're somewhere above 13. And we've never experienced that type of growth anywhere, personally or professionally.
We stopped being consistent, so we haven't been growing.
But that was a really exciting time, and like you said, it was so fun. I put it, I guess it's technically on here, things that we discovered because of TikTok videos. Wendy's potato wedge breakfast fries,
so good.
Like, even that, you can ban TikTok now, because I got that out of it. There was so much that happened there. It's a really cool community of people. If you didn't know, like, our biggest video blew up at, I don't know what it's at now. It's 10 point something million views and somewhere around 1 million likes.
Yeah.
But that video was basically highlighting, it was questions that, like, most men wouldn't know about women.
Yeah.
And it highlighted our relationship in a way that people who are similar to you and I found it and found another couple that was like them.
Yeah.
And the people who were aspiratively watching it, like, oh, I wish my husband was that in tune with, like, the stuff in my world. Like, they found it, and they found something from that too, something positive from that. And so I think there was a lot of positivity, not just from the growth. Like, we have 3 video, there's like 10 million views. The next one's 3.5. The next one's like 1 million or something. It was fun, the virality of it. But what was more fun was seeing people that were similar to us find just a little corner of the internet, which is kind of what our show is anyway. Is like, if you want more people like you in your life, and we are like you, come be a part of it. So yeah, the TikTok growth was a really cool thing. That was my number 6. What was your number 7?
And I was going to say this, the $600 that we made from that, like, first month or second month, whatever, when we were actually really being intentional, wasn't bad either.
Yeah, dude, we got paid. TikTok paid us money. I've never paid TikTok.
I know.
Actually,
we should
I
get back into
I bought
it.
stuff on there. TikTok's got a good little shop, y'all. Good little shop.
Anyways, my number 6.
7.
I just did my 7.
Which was what?
TikTok growth.
Oh, I'm sorry, but it was my number 6. Okay, so now you're 6.
So my number 6.
Wait, no, it's my number 7 now.
Oh yeah, what was your number 7?
I was like, something's wrong here.
Yeah.
My number 7 was Comic-Con, specifically my interview with Wendy Jacobson.
Yeah. That was a good one.
Yeah. A little recap on this. I was so anxious about this interview. This isn't abnormal, but I didn't really know much of what I was doing till I got there.
Yeah.
In terms of the specifics. So I was interviewing Wendy Jacobson, who was one of the executive producers on the biggest movie at the moment and possibly the summer, Deadpool and Wolverine. So
I haven't seen that.
She just finished all of her press tours around the world, the premiere of the movie happening, Kevin Feige getting his star on the Walk of Fame. This is all in the same week, and now it's Comic-Con, still the same week, which is also the week the movie's coming out. There's so much hype around it, and I'm just like, what am I going to ask this person that hasn't already been asked, but also isn't too specific to the movie because it came out like the day before we're doing this interview,
so
or the day
ask too many questions or spoilers or anything like that.
Totally. And the questions I had that were given to me were like yes and no type questions. They weren't open-ended. So I was so worried about it that I put in a ton of work, and it went really well, but that wasn't the highlight for me.
No.
The highlight was
he got invited to a Marvel after party.
I was at the
that he wasn't going to go to and then went to.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story. I wasn't going to go because I wasn't directly invited.
But you were invited.
I know, it just didn't get to me.
I know.
But you know how I feel. We talked about it earlier. If you're not on the original invite list, then don't go.
But this case you were.
Yes, I know. It just didn't get to me because of other things.
Yeah.
But at that party, it was just Marvel Studios. It was the Marvel Studios after party for Comic-Con on Saturday night. So just about everything's wrapped up. And I'm in there. I'm talking with the people that I know, the people that I work with, all that kind of stuff. I go over to the bar. It's empty. And I order whatever drink it is. And the woman next to me turns and she goes, SP. And I look over and it's Wendy, the woman I interviewed. I think it was the day before. It might have been that day. And I'm like, hey, how's it going? Not really having anything in mind. She goes, your interview, I can't even remember specifically what it was. Maybe you do. She's like, that was one of the best interviews I've had on this whole time here.
The whole press tour.
The whole press tour. I don't know how you came up with some of those questions, and you asked me things that I had never been asked. And she was just saying such kind things about what I had done, what I was so worried about. And I was like, damn it, if I'm not good at this.
You are.
I worry about it. But for her to go out of her way to not only remember my name, but to look over and be like, that was awesome.
Yeah.
I was like, dang it, I'm doing it. I'm not an imposter.
You're not. And if I recall, I think there are people on the team that said not that she's not mean, but she's not an easy interview.
Yeah, no one said she wasn't kind.
Yeah,
but
not an
tough interview. Yeah,
a tough interview,
and that's
and that
traditionally
she only
true of
specific,
execs.
Yeah, particular people to interview her.
Yeah,
that's what I really remember is that it was such a nice compliment because she has a very specific preferences when it comes to people interviewing her, because she does get asked the same questions a million times again. So she's like, I don't want to be asked that.
Yeah. So that was a really important career moment for me this year, and it was my number 7.
Wow.
What's your number 6?
My number 6 is probably somewhere on there. It's not that I made the most money that I've ever made in a year by myself.
Ever.
Although that should have been on my list, and maybe it can be tied into this one. But this was the new clients that I got this year that I got to work with. Which when you put them all together, it sounds pretty impressive. Individually, it can be impressive too. But I was like, wow, I forgot that at the very top of the year was the first time I ever worked with Hallmark, and I did 3 events with them. Yeah. Hallmark and Hallmark Plus. I helped to launch Hallmark Plus at one of their big TCA events.
Some of your work with Hallmark were custom activations.
Yeah, custom activations that I did and made for them. I also did my first Oscars after party with Neon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And had actual Oscars, the little awards
actual trophies
in my booth, which is cool. They're right in front of my face.
That had just been won fresh that
night. I worked with Paramount Plus. I worked with FX twice. I worked with Lumi / Mando, which I'll probably never work with again. It was an interesting experience. It wasn't quite on my worst moments of 2024.
It's a weird one though.
But it was a weird one. It was good. And Shannon, who owns company, is the sweetest, nicest human being you could ever meet.
Nothing to do with the people.
No,
everything
she was
to do
incredible.
With the details.
was just an interesting event in general. And it was out of state. It was in Minnesota. There was a lot of things happening. This was right around the time I learned that Ashley Mae's mom had been diagnosed with cancer. So there's just a lot going on. But I worked with Lumi, which was cool. And then I guess Hallmark should have been a part of the big four because it was Hallmark, but Virgin Atlantic with the BAFTAs. I did my first BAFTA ever. Delta.
Yep.
And NBC.
Yeah, I mean, you can leave Spotify off your list if you don't want them there.
I forgot about.
I mean, like if you're just forgetting big companies that have hired you,
about Spotify.
You can do that. You can forget that, about the ones that the gigs fell through or got changed, like HBO and different stuff like that.
Was I going to work for HBO?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh yeah. I'm hopefully doing an event with them next year.
Amazing,
but so not with HBO, but with. Well, I don't know. Yeah, sometimes you don't know until you're there.
Yeah.
But it was a cool year for me in terms of companies I got to work for and different things I got to do and premiere after parties and different things like that, which, like I said, it's only my second year in business and it's just me and my friends.
And your husband.
And my husband.
He seems great.
So that was really cool. And I'm looking forward to this year, hoping that this list will be a repeat list in some ways. But only time will tell.
That's so awesome.
Because it's just barely 2025. And if you don't know this, in the gig world, outside of New Year's Day, the whole gig world kind of shuts down from like 2 days before Christmas until the New Year.
Thank God.
Truly. I was getting like rush emails from people like, can you hold this date for us? And then nothing happens for a couple of weeks. So you just kind of wait.
Well, we'll see about 2025.
Anyways, that was my number 6.
Well, my number 6 was TikTok videos. So what is your number 5?
My number 5 was our Vegas trip.
You're freaking kidding me.
Is that your number 5?
It's my number 5.
Hey!
It's right in the middle.
Yeah, it's right in the middle.
Good things. We both agree. That's great.
It was the trip that we needed at the time that we needed it.
Yep.
And the $2,500 that we won was pretty nice too.
Yeah, so I did
that was
make
like
notes.
a real highlight for me.
Yep, we a little teeny tiny bit of background. SP does not care about vacations very much.
No,
he cares
but
about
I do.
working,
And he cares about me.
He cares about Kelly, but also his anxiety really has controlled him for so long that taking a vacation was not. The anxiety was not conducive to vacation. So taking this Vegas vacation, this Vegas trip.
I would use
that we turned into a vacay.
Yeah, I would say vacation lightly because you were working. You just have a day off in between.
Yes, but also it's kind of what made it awesome.
Yeah.
Not every vacation should be like that.
No.
But my notes here are that you won $2,500 at one.
Thanks, Hot Roll
one
Machine.
time.
At one time,
we won more after.
It was an incredible. It was an incredible rollout. An incredible hand dealt.
Dealt 4 4s.
Which, if you don't play poker, you don't know, but dealt 4 4s
with a
hot roll, which means was
multiplier.
multiplied times whatever we make. You multiply that times 9, and then if you get a kicker, which is an ace, 2, 3, or 4, which I did 3 times, it's more money. So on my awesome. 5 hands, it was awesome. It was awesome. It was awesome.
It was awesome for everyone except the woman playing next to Kelly.
Yeah, she didn't really care. But also we have to pay taxes on it, which kind of sucks. It was like the first time I've ever been paid out at a machine. It was crazy.
Pretty awesome.
Anyways.
We also ate great food out there.
Uh-huh.
Especially Din Tai Fung.
Oh, yeah.
That was wherever there is one.
So good.
But it was great.
Been to all of them. Just kidding.
That was the same time that I opened for Kelly Clarkson on that trip. And then you had to leave early to go see Wicked.
I did.
For the first out of, I think, 15 times you've
3
seen
times
it so far.
But yeah, we'll talk about that later.
I knew it would have to be there somewhere. It was an awesome trip. You won a bunch of money. I opened for a celebrity singer. You saw the movie you've been desiring to see. We got some time off. It was awesome. So yeah, it was number 5 on my list.
It was a great time.
What's your number 4?
My number 4 is a collage of things, but it all revolves around one person. And that would be my beautiful, wonderful, amazing daughter, Brooklyn.
Aww.
And so my Brooklyn dates this year, whether it be our one-on-one Disney date that we took at the top of the year where she rode Thunder Mountain for the very first time and fell in love with it, to D23 days with you, where again, her and I had time just to ourselves hanging and doing stuff, to our nail dates that we've done multiple of this year, which is really what got me. But all of it has been very, very fun. My Brookie dates.
Yeah.
So, and it was like a good thing. I looked at it and I was like, yeah, I should take her to get her nails done. Like we should make that a staple in our house because it is time that her and I we normally get a Starbucks, we get a Starbucks, and then we walk over to our little nail salon and we sit and we talk about life. She tells me about the boy she has a crush on or about her girlfriends and the drama she has or who's her best friend at the time. And I was like, it's just such a fun, and she gets to get pampered and learn that like, yeah, you should be taken care of in a certain way. Mm-hmm. So it's all good.
It's all really good. Yeah. Well, that's obviously not on my list because it's specific to you in Brooklyn. But as I was going through my calendar and specifically my camera roll, I did have a lot of daddy-daughter date nights with Brooklyn this year.
Yeah.
Which I can say thank you for as well, because a lot of the reasons why I wasn't able to do that was because as your business got busier, I got busier, and then both of us were going places. Mm-hmm. But oftentimes the daddy-daughter dates happened when you were working and you brought someone on your team to come with you.
Yeah.
So that you finding those people allowed me to have a lot of great date nights with Brooklyn too. So it didn't make my list, but it happened a lot more frequently as I looked through my photos, I realized, than I thought it did. My number 4, we already talked about, was redoing our house. So what's your number 4?
Rookie dates. I'm on number 3 now.
Oh, wow. Whoa. We're in the top 3 now.
We're on the top 3.
This is where things get interesting because the likelihood of overlap is very high.
Yeah. I don't know that it will have overlap though. I already know number 3 is not an overlap because number 3 is my SP's talk at NTI.
Well, I think my number 3 is going to be your number 1 or 2. So, did we already talk about NTI? So we have to move on?
Yeah, we talked about NTI, yes, but I did talk about it. So it's number 3. I was really proud of you.
I'm going to...
Don't say it.
Skip my number 3.
Okay. What's your number 2?
Only because...
Is it having to do with
I'm
Wicked?
not going to answer anything.
All right, what's your number 2?
It just doesn't feel like my place. My number 2 was mentioned a little bit. It's Bumble's Boomin' Business.
Aww.
My number 2 highlight of the entire year is watching you in your business thrive and take off and explode and branch out and grow and change and expand and become something it wasn't. All really vague words, but all truly what's happened. You know, when you jumped into this 2 years ago, you had, a really solid coordinator that you worked with a lot, and you still work with them. But it was kind of that was kind of it at the beginning. It was that and kind of small private events. In the course of a year and a half, 2 years, you've taken it into some place that I could have never taken it. You've made it into something that I never would have dreamt up within the realm of possibilities. The amount of major companies, like all the ones you listed, that just trust you to do your stuff is insane. And it's cool to see too, like as you've gotten into those rooms and those places and spaces, it's the job has gotten easier in certain ways because those clients book you because they trust you and they love what you do, rather than the smaller private clients that are very particular or nitpicky. You've been able to not just survive, but thrive during specifically this last season, like 4 months, but all year. I mean, you worked with Hallmark from the beginning of the year all the way till the end, essentially. But the biggest part of this, my number 2 being Bumble's Booming Business, kind of trickles in from other places. When I talked about D23, when I talked about NTI, is I love watching people fall in love with you.
Thanks, babe.
And like I said, just to reiterate, it's at least 3 times on my list, is seeing people fall in love with you, because I'm like, right? I knew before you did, but like, right? She's great.
You're so cute.
I feel like, I know so much of your story, and I know the ups and the downs, and the communities that have embraced you and the communities who have ostracized and unceremoniously thrown you out. And to see you start fresh in a business endeavor, to go into a brand new world of people that truly, like, I can't think of a client that you have that is from your old life. It is all the life that you've made for yourself and that we've made together. Yeah, there's only one. but one out of so many that are brand new and who have fallen in love with the person that you are and that the business and the way that you hold yourself professionally, but also personally. And I got to tell you this off air, but it's worth saying on air too. You know, when you're an independent contractor, you're kind of always worried about where the next gig's coming from.
Yeah.
One of the coolest things about you is when a lot of these huge clients for major freaking companies, global, like top 10 companies in the world, biggest companies, like when they hire a caterer or when they hire a florist, they're probably not hugging those people as they show up and leave.
Yeah.
Your clients love you and they hug you.
I know.
And they want to be a part of your life and they want you to be a part of their life.
That's so sweet.
It's so cool to see you coming into your own. And not just that, but to see people seeing in you what I've seen for so long.
Thanks, babe.
So that's why your booming business and who you are as a person
Thanks, babe.
is my number 2.
Aren't we cute that in our top 3, each of them is about the other person, how proud of we are of something that they've done this year?
It's icky, but I'm like, if you've made it this far in the episode,
you like
you're
us,
okay.
so you're okay. Well, thanks, babe. That
You're
was
welcome.
really sweet. I love you.
I love you. Did you say your number 2 yet?
No.
What's your number 2?
My number 2 is my birthday.
Oh, that almost made my list. Not just your birthday, but
I'm just kidding.
It is truly on my runner-up moments as Kellie's birthday dinner. Also, there's a lot of good stuff on here that isn't on my top 10.
I agree with you. I've been
lot.
like second guessing, have I done this right? But my birthday day was so fun. I said this to you already because I wanted you to know.
Yeah, thank you for that. You speak my language and you know what I need to hear.
But it meant a lot to me when I walked out in the morning and you had been thoughtful and had like bought happy birthday balloons and posted them in my corner and bought me my peonies and however you say that, peonies.
Who knows? Pergola.
I don't know. I love them. My favorite flower. I don't even know how to say it, but they're my favorite flower. I love them.
Hasn't always been, but recently,
I really like them. But it was just like such a sweet little thoughtful thing. And you and Brooklyn did like here's reasons why we love mom. It was like such a sweet thing. You guys are both so excited to celebrate me. So that was really fun. I had 12 days of Kellie from one of my friends from Ashley May. It was like such a sweet thing to be thoughtful. If you know me, you know that my birthday is 12/12. It's right in the smack dab center of December. And it is during the craziest holiday season. You're right in the middle of it. That's like one of the busiest shopping weekends of the year. And so I know that my birthday tends to get overshadowed a lot or like not really thought of. For a long time, I had a couple of friends in like high school that would do birthmas with me and it really didn't sit well. It was fine. Here's the deal. Complaining over small things, right? It's really nice to be thought of. I'm just someone who really likes to, I feel like I'm a very thoughtful person that really likes to make sure that I take care of people on their birthdays and things like that. And so I always felt slighted. It was like, Anyway, so it was really thoughtful to be like, there's like an advent calendar for me to open days 1 through 12 for my birthday. So that was really sweet. But the top of it all truly was the dinner that we had at Din Tai Fung, which is like a highlight of my year. And I told you, I said, I want to do this every year, but maybe not just my birthday, but as like a Christmas party type of thing that we expand on it and make it bigger and do different, not bigger, more people, but different things that we do. But it was just such a cool thing to watch all of my friends kind of come together. And you said it that night. You were like, it was cool because no matter who got up or left from the table or walked around, conversation never stopped.
Yeah, it was really
Everybody was always talking to different people and getting to know each other. And it was such a cool thing for me to be like, wow, all these people here, not only do I really love, but they all really love me. And I think because they love me, they're like, oh, all these other people are cool.
I don't even know if it's that, though. I think you just have a good group of people in your life.
I do.
And I don't think they were like, well, if they're good with Kellie, they're good with me. I think it was just good people meeting good people.
Yeah. I mean, yes, I know that. But it feels cool to be the one to bring them together. Although they're all cool in their own right. And I just feel grateful to be a part of each of their lives. I love them all. But such like a fun little thing. And it was delicious and it was fun. And the servers were nice. And the servers were like, you guys were so great. And we just loved having you guys here. And it was a crazy busy Saturday night. Like I said, one of the busiest shopping weekends ever in the year of the year.
Yeah, we should plan that for the week prior to your birthday next year.
That's really fine. But everyone showed up and was there and we had to Tai Fung and it was delicious and amazing. And the servers were wonderful and kind and loved us. And I loved everyone that was there. It was just such a fun day.
It may have been the best night of the year.
Yeah, I keep saying like much needed for us. I said the same thing about Vegas, but I mean that I think we needed to be reminded of why we do what we do, and like the people in our lives that allow us to like have a little bit of levity in the craziness of it. Because every single person at that table was there for us during all of the things that we went through.
Wow. You know,
all in different ways, but all of that, if you think about it, every single person.
That's crazy.
Was there.
Absolutely.
Whether it was, hey, I'm going to take you out for drinks, or hey, I'm coming over to help install floors, or
you know what?
Offering to help, even if we didn't take them up on it, like every single person at that table.
Yeah, you know, I have to give a shout out too, because I didn't do it later when we were talking about the house renovation, but when you said the floors and that kind of stuff, like shout out to our friends Danielle and Randy.
I know.
Who, when it hit the fan, they were like, I can come over right now.
Yeah,
like,
Randy,
what do you need?
Danielle,
when
truly.
do you need it? And this year, Randy coming in clutch, we ended up not needing him for one of the flash fuse problems.
Yeah.
But he was like, I'll pack up my baby and I will drive my car down there and make it happen. Like, shout out to, as you said, like everyone had pulled through for you in that year in certain ways. And I wanted to make sure Danielle and Randy got their sprinkle of love as well, because they were definitely not only there for us in that way, but just like a really constant and cool friendship through this last year as well.
It was very cool.
Okay.
I love them. Okay. What's your number one? Because I already know what your number three is. I have to assume.
So would you like me to do my number one first then?
Yeah.
My number one. My number one was quitting drinking.
And you're going to drink today?
Yeah. So I should caveat this. So most people know every year I take 30 days off of drinking in a row because of what we do and our lifestyle and that kind of stuff. Oftentimes drinking is just a part of daily life. And I hadn't realized, I mean, I knew that was a part of our, like, I wouldn't say daily, but almost daily life if we were working or if we were at home. Anyway, so I always take those 30 days off just to make sure I'm staying on top of it and that my liver's okay and all that. So I did that this year at the end of August and I just never went back.
Never went back, baby.
The biggest part of that, the biggest gift of my entire year came from that choice, which I didn't do intentionally, but just because I'd gotten to 30 days and I was like, I don't need to stop. Let me see if I can do 50. Let me see if I can do 100. At the time of recording this, I'm not exactly sure where I'm at. 120.
Have you drank it all in between that time, though?
I did accidentally take a drink of your drink at your birthday, your spritz. And I was like, oh, no. But then I was also like, oh, yeah, I'm fine. Look, I'm fine.
You could have a drink. It's okay.
Yeah. And so like, I get the caveat is I haven't quit drinking forever. What I have done is learned enough about me to know that while drinking was the fun thing, particularly from COVID on, that was kind of like, I don't know, it just takes the edge off of the life we're all living as Americans right now, or globally right now. It went from being the solution to the problem at some point. And I don't know where that point was, but it happened.
Yeah.
And for me, taking that break, it showed me that. I have had the lowest levels of anxiety maybe that I've had in the last 10, 15 years. I know it's not all attributed to that, but I'm just so grateful for having taken that time away and taking that break and understanding my relationship to that better than I had. And the gift of peace and the gift of tranquility and the gift of being present in the moment, be here now, and the gift of not feverishly, frantically, and consistently worrying, dreadfully worrying.
Actually, they're not there anymore.
All of those things, when you put them all together, is why it makes the number one spot on my list.
I'm proud of you.
It's the biggest thing that's changed in my life, and it's the biggest gift I've gotten.
Honestly, there's been a big change in you since you've stopped drinking. And while I hope you feel it, you can have a drink socially and all that stuff, and that's not going to affect you.
And I do.
Like, it has been really cool to be like, yeah, like, you don't need it and it doesn't need to happen. It's introduced us into some fun mocktails that we've been making, which I think is fun.
Which is interesting too, because I've never been like, can you make a mocktail? I just need something that's kind of like, you've always been the one interested in the mocktails.
Yeah.
I've never asked. And I've never been like, I really wish I was drinking.
But it's fun, isn't it fun?
It is fun.
It is fun. I got some fun, like, drinks, like beverages that you can
What
mix
were the ones
in.
that you got? They're like
They're
a
called
meditative moment.
Called Moment. They have adaptogens in them, something like that. It's supposed to help you meditate.
That's the weirdest part of it. There's nothing else in those drinks.
Yeah, it's
and
0
I don't
calories.
even know what
zero.
adaptogens are, but they're wonderful.
But it's like tea. It's like light tea.
Yeah.
Stuff. So, but that's been really fun. So making some mocktails out of those has been fun. Anyways, but all that to say, I've been really proud of you for making it over 100 days. This 100 in here is for you, I realize.
Yeah, our balloons from our 100th episode.
But yeah, it's been really cool to watch you go through that and watch you like find joy and have less anxiety and just feel more in control of not necessarily your emotions, but like you just aren't anxious for gigs and you're able to just kind of stay more calm in those things. Just been like super cool.
And nothing's changed. It was like, oh, I spent years frantically worrying about something and it went well. And then I've spent the last 3 months not worrying about it and it went well. Yeah, I was like, what have I been wasting this energy for?
But I'm proud of you.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a stupid question because you can't control it. When you have that level of anxiety, it's not like you can ration or logic your way through it. But anyway, thank you so much for sharing that. The last thing I'll sprinkle in here, sprinkle's been my word of the new year.
I'm going to buy him some sprinkles.
Yeah. Sprinkles the topping, not sprinkles the cupcake. I'm more excited about literal ice cream sprinkles. Yeah. Anyway, one of the things that I was trying to figure out how to make its way on my list, but it kind of falls in here. These last 3 months of not having, or 4 months, whatever it's been, of not having overwhelming anxiety has been life-changing for me. First of all, thank you for dealing with me and being married to a person who has just been chronically riddled with anxiety. Thank you for dealing with that and loving me through that. And what I've realized in these last 3 or 4 months with your business really taking off and being very, very busy. We're talking like, I don't know what week you had the most gigs. Maybe it was like 7 gigs, 9 gigs in 1 week. It was insane.
It's a lot.
But we also have a personal life. And because my anxiety has been so low, I've really felt like I've been able to contribute more in parts of your life, our life, Brooklyn's life, more than just like, I'm the dude who anxiously goes out and brings in money. It's like, now I can be the dude who's like, let me handle dinner. Let me drive Brooklyn the 2 hours it takes to get to school, for a whole week so you don't have to do it. All that stuff. And it's truly, it's not for the thanks, but for me, I'm like, I'm a better person and partner, I think, right now than I have been. And not that I've been bad, but like I can do more for you in Brooklyn. Yeah. And for me, I can be a better husband and be a better father because my anxiety is so low, is so much lower. So it's number 1 on my list. And thank you for sharing your kind words. Now, number 3 on my list and number 1 on yours. Take it away.
Number 1 on my list for 2024 is Wicked Mania.
What? Show me that shirt. Show me that little sweater.
Got a little...
There it is.
Sweater. My Wicked is part of my matching PJs with Brooklyn this year, although it's a cardigan that we wear out of the house. Wicked Mania has been my favorite part. Like I said, maybe it's because it's been at the last half of the year, but it has taken up months and months of my life. Starting back from that Vegas trip we took, I flew back a day early because I got to see an early screening of Wicked on NBC lot with my friend crazy. Ashley May. And you best believe I cried the whole time and felt so grateful to be able to see it. And was so happy and excited to take Brooklyn, our daughter, to see Wicked opening weekend with Ashley May and her husband, Jonathan, and you, of course. And for her to truly fall in love with Wicked. Mm-hmm. And as a theater kid growing up, as someone who went to the theater with my mom to Pantages, not often, but enough, and Wicked being one of those ones that I watched a few times, and I know every song, every harmony part, all of it, because I grew up singing that, which you didn't know, and you were like, I didn't realize you liked it so much.
No,
I was like, yes,
because it came out 20 years ago.
I know. I was like, we don't really like sing musicals around the house, so how would you know like what musicals I like?
Sorry you didn't marry that guy.
That's okay. It was. It's been such a joy and so fun for me to get to experience that with Brooklyn, to have her fall in love with Wicked as much as I love Wicked, to get to sing around the house with her. You should have seen her light up when I got her the Elphaba hat and did the whole like, it's really sharp, the whole thing. And she's like, Mom, every time we do this. Yeah,
seen all 3 times.
Yes. You have to do that. We have matching shirts. She has a bunch of Wicked stuff. She's going to put a Wicked play on at school. She knows all the words to all the songs. She's seen it twice because she just loves it so much and she wants to keep watching it. That has been so fun. And when you can partner that with some of my closest friends also loving Wicked, And having one of my closest friends work at NBC on the lot, and I did a Wicked event for Universal Products and Events
for Wicked.
And like got to see all that stuff and got to smell the Voluspa candles, and actually was gifted 2 of them prior to them even really being out there for people to really have like.
But then someone took them from your office, right?
Not me. That was not my office. Sorry, Dana. But it's just been such a fun, cool thing. I'm so excited for Wicked for Good to come out next year, regardless if I'm working for NBC still or not, which hopefully I am. But to see that with Brooklyn and just to see the love of that, it's been really life-giving. It's been exactly what I needed in this season. Yeah. It's been so fun. It overtook Christmas. I think I said that to you at some point in time. I was like, normally we'd be listening to like Christmas music and watching Christmas movies, but we have Wicked playing like all the time because it's all Brooklyn wants to listen to and sing, which I love. But yeah, it's been great. My boy Jonathan Bailey's in it from Bridgerton. I mean, what more could you ask for?
It's a perfect movie.
And Jack from Bridgerton too. He's the horse. But it really has been the top of my year to share that with my daughter in a way that I don't know most people would understand if you don't have a stepdaughter. To understand that just because you like something doesn't mean that they will.
And the things that you like, their biological mom might like and want to have those experiences with her.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a give and a take, right? And so to lose out on Taylor Swift, but to gain Wicked has been cool.
Yeah. That's a great
in certain ways.
Comparison. Because when you said it, you're like, it was perfect timing. I think it was perfect timing for not only Wicked to come out and to be this movie that you were so pumped about, but then for the company who made it to be like, do you want to be even more a part of it? And then like for that to essentially keep happening.
Yeah.
It's insane. I do think it was like the perfect timing. It wouldn't be like if Taylor Swift was like, you want to sing back up? Because that would be insane. But it was that level of like perfect timing.
Yeah. But it was great.
By the way, I want to just before we wrap up, I've got things to say.
Runners.
Yeah, I just want to say if there's any runner-up moments that we need to throw in there, go ahead. But as you open your computer, let me say this. It made my number 3 moment because for a lot of the reasons that you said. But let me give you my actual note on this.
Okay, let me see it. I'm here.
Number 3, Wicked. Watching you and Brooklyn bond over it and perform this freaking movie all the time. That's my actual note.
That's true.
But as much as you described as much as you've described it being a gift for you as a stepmom, it has been, in my opinion, possibly an even bigger gift to me as Brooklyn's dad and as your husband. I've said it before, like you've given me some of the biggest gifts of my life, allowing me to be fully who I am, coming into a family that's already started and being like, I will sacrifice how I envisioned my future and family to be a part of this. Yeah. Like, you've already done that so many times and given me such huge gifts. Wicked was the gift I didn't expect to watch. I remember so vividly, I was doing dishes in the kitchen and we were playing Wicked and Brooklyn knew all the words to the song and so did you. And then all of a sudden, you guys weren't singing together. You were literally performing it together. Back and forth. You were Elphaba and she was Galinda, or probably vice versa. She's always
Elphaba. She's Elfie.
I can never keep them straight. But for context, and Kelly's heard me say this, we together, me, you, and B, have seen Wicked twice in the movie theater, but yet somehow I have never seen Wicked because I've spent all that time basking in the joy of watching both of you watch that movie, cry through that movie, go outside the theater and shoot TikToks about the movie, go into the gift shop to look at what's going to match your already, Wicked outfit and sweater. Like, but
have matching sweaters
and matching Wicked PJs and matching Wicked everything. For her to fall in love with this. Also, I love that she's falling in love with Elphaba.
Yeah.
I always get their names mixed up. Because I asked her, I was like, how many of your friends, there are, my words today, how many of your friends have the favorite character of Elphaba versus Galinda? Galinda being like the prim, perfect, cute, but also out of touch, never had a hardship in her life person. And Galinda being the, I truly can't do it. Elphaba being the one who's literally green, has had a troubled life from day one, is still pushing through, is still ostracized. And for her to tell me, like, oh no, all of my friends like Galinda.
But I love Alfie.
I was like, yeah, you love Elfie because that's the type of people that we are.
Yeah.
Is people who can see the hardships and the trials that people go through and empathize and sympathize and be a part of helping that. Like, I love that you identify with the character who's going to overcome, at least for this story, the hurdles and overcome the obstacles in her way rather than the one who's got it all together and cute and prim and proper. So I was really proud of that. But truly, it was watching the two of you bond. It was just this solidifying of how lucky am I that my kid has a stepmom that is so in love with who she is, and vice versa, so in love with who you are, that you guys can have these moments together. Like, I would have been lucky enough to have you guys enjoy being around each other, but to see how deeply in love you guys are on a personal level, but also through this mutual affinity. You said it so many times. You're like, I'm a musical theater kid, not a soccer kid.
Yeah, not a soccer kid.
It was, while it was only my number 3, it was definitely just one of the biggest highlights of my year. And I did not think Wicked would make it on my list at all.
But it did. Wicked Mania.
So that's the official end of our tops.
Official end. Here are some of the runner-ups, though. The ones that didn't quite make it on the list, but were so close. So I'm going to give you just a handful, and then you can give me a handful, okay?
Yeah, whatever's fun for you.
Disneyland with Danielle.
Fun. I wasn't a part of that.
It was such a blast. You were not there. It was just the two of us. I had a blast. I can't wait to do it again. But we got to try coffee, went on some rides together. It was just a fun day, honestly, to be with someone, to be kid-free, and to be with a friend and be there, a good friend. It was so fun. Scott's dinner party in February. Love that.
Great.
I hope he does another one. Can't wait to be part of it. Scotty boy. Hopefully. Just kidding. I love you. But so fun. Had seriously such a blast. Scott sat at the best table. Had a lot of drinks. It was so
Talk about
fun.
people falling in love with you.
I know. It was great. That's what Scott said. He said they freaking loved you. AMA's birthday party.
Yeah,
And
which
Jesse.
is actually a part of our Vegas week.
Yes, and meeting Jesse.
Ooh, then for me it would have been meeting Jamie. I'm like
And
Jesse
Jamie.
too.
Yeah. But it was like a really cool thing. Almost made that to my top moments. But I'm hoping to get more time with Jesse in the upcoming year. But just loved her. Family photos was a big one for me. I was really happy to get family photos down. I really loved them. And then you give me 5.
Never missing a week of the podcast and hitting 100 episodes.
Ooh.
This will be episode 110. Could be 111 if we split it in half because it's 6 hours long.
Maybe
But it's at least hitting 100 episodes. There's a huge mark. The podcast was number 1 on my list last year. So I really wanted to make sure the consistency of it was important to mention for me. So this one's probably on your list in a slightly different way. But opening for the Backstreet Boys was awesome. Can you believe that wasn't even on my top 10?
I know.
But I know it's somewhere on your runner-ups, right?
It is.
Tell me about your experience.
Mine was meeting the Backstreet Boys.
Yeah.
Because we got to meet them and kind of chat with them. AJ specifically, who was just a sweetheart and super nice and kind. Michelle Obama was also at this event that we did. Very, very nice, very kind as well.
Did you put her green room together, girl?
I did put her green room together. There was a couple other famous people there. Oh, we had the CEO of Delta and the CEO of Amex, which is hysterical because I went and worked for Delta later on that year. Wish I could have said that to him then, but it wasn't quite the right time. But they were both there, both are companies of choice, which is cool. But that all went together with also seeing Steve Martin and Martin Short perform.
That's on my list too.
In Minnesota, which I cannot believe didn't make my top moments because I got to see them for free at a personal concert for 200 people at an event that I happened to be doing.
Insane.
And had the opportunity to go and watch because they said, go ahead and watch them. I said, don't have to ask me twice.
So good. That was on my runner-ups as well. A couple other things that might be unique to me. Casey's Pizza Competition. This is the second year in a row that I have been flown out to. I actually don't know where it is because I always land there and I'm like, I don't know what state I'm in. I want to say Missouri.
I think you're maybe right.
Who knows? It's one of those Kansas City states that's got a Kansas in it. Oh, words. But second year in a row, I've gotten flown out to host a live pizza competition. It's an hour long. It is like doing a live show on television. It is a blast. It was even better this year. They were so happy to have me. I had a great time. But also they're like, and here's the dates for next year. And can you come out earlier? Because we want you to do more stuff on different days. I was like, this is pretty cool. Because it was my favorite gig of the year 2 years ago. I didn't categorize my gigs this year, but it's definitely in the top 10, if not top 5 gigs from this year. And it was really cool. So I had Casey's.
That'd be another fun one to do our gigs.
Oh, a top. Couldn't do a bottom. We could do a bottom, but we won't.
Do a top.
A couple of things I mentioned NTI, but how about this one? The Oscars party at the Academy Museum, thanks to Ashley May.
I didn't even put that on mine because
while the Oscars were happening, we were at the
that's
Oscars
true.
Museum
That was really
enjoying
fun.
it.
Yeah, that was really cool. I really had a blast doing that. It was a little bit stressful because we were going to a gig right after that, but I did enjoy being at the Oscars Museum for the Oscars.
Yeah.
Mine?
Yeah, go ahead.
Bridgerton release party with AMA. I think we did it for part 2. It was right in the middle of all the craziness, and she was like, I can't watch this with anyone else. And so we went over and we watched it, and it was so fun to watch it all with her. And we had like our afternoon tea, and she had bought a couple stuff, and I brought some stuff. It was so fun.
It's so good.
So that was a really good one. Also, if we're keeping it in line with things, my Emily in Paris event that I went to with Dana.
So random. I totally forgot
which
about
was
that.
like I was looking back on pictures of that, and I was like, this was such a fun and cool event that we got to go to. And Emily in Paris herself was there, Lily Collins.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, along with a couple of other people from the show that you wouldn't know unless you watched the show. But it was so cool. You can see us in the Instagram photo they took of like, look at this, look at all of us here with these fans. We're like in row 2, and Dana and I are like, ah. So that was a really, really, really fun thing. And if I'm talking about Dana, I like really wanted this to go on my top moments because when I think about it, it really is on my top moments of the year. And so take that as you will. But Dana telling me that she left her old job to start working at NBC was like a big deal because I knew she wasn't happy at the old job. And so I was so excited for her. And like, it's distinctly tied into the very first time that Ashley May and I went and visited her on the lot.
Yeah.
And she took us around on like a private backlot tour on her golf cart where we just got to go through the backlot and see everything. And we parked and we got out and we took pictures at the Good Place and a bunch of different things. It was just such a fun night filled with friends supporting friends, and each of us truly like talking about our dreams and where we hope we get to be, and like how proud we were of Dana, and Dana telling us how proud she was of all of us, and us talking about where we like where we're hoping we'll get to in the next year. It was such like a nice, honestly, that should have been on my top 10 the more I think about it, but it was such a nice night.
Yeah. I think what's so cool about that, and it really, for me, speaks in terms of who you are, is that moment of Dana changing her job and getting this job at NBC has a tremendous professional impact on you. But I know that everything you described has nothing to do with that. Like, I remember when you found out, and I remember how excited you were just for your friend having a happier, healthier life and being in a place she wants to be. I remember how excited you were that night on the golf cart and how like energized you came back to the house feeling that night. And it's funny, while there has had a lot of, we've had a lot of professional implications from that, I know that just on a personal level, you were just so happy for her. And it's cool that was almost on your top 10 list.
I know she could never book me on another NBC event again, or never have brought me in for that one that she did that then launched it all. And I would still just be just as happy for her, and still visiting her on campus to have lunch with her or whatever. Like, it's just fun to see your friends succeed when you know how amazing and incredible they are. And so it's been really fun to watch her. And I'm excited for this next year to see even more of my friends succeed, because I know it's coming. I know it's there. But yeah, it's like, it was really cool. And like, I know that's where she's like, she made it. And she is someone who loves to go and watch talk shows. It's like her thing. And she used to live in New York. And so she would go and see a lot of, like, specifically the ones for NBC talk shows. And she just posted a picture of her. And so she was cute. Like,
I was just thinking that.
Here's a picture of me from whatever when I used to go visit them. Now here's a picture with me with my NBC, like,
she was like she was in front of, I think, 30 Rock. And she was like, here's a picture of me in 2019, desperately wanting to work for this company. Yeah. Here I am today with my NBC Universal badge.
And so I was like, that's so cool. I'm so excited for her. So just love her. But that was a really fun night to like get that tour, to talk about life, to just be girls supporting women, really, like in each of our endeavors, and to just like be kind of dreaming, only for us to come full circle here at the end of the year. And like I said, best year of my professional career. Yeah. Financially, and I don't know how else you say this, and like interpersonally with companies. That's not quite right. Networkingly.
Yeah. I will also say, I should have said this in the Bumbles Boomin' business, which is just fun to say.
Bumbles Boomin' business.
Bumbles officially a 6-figure business now. Yeah. And
hope we can keep it up, I guess.
That was never going to be from me. You did a great job. Thanks. I have just a few more left. We already talked about some of these. Finances starting to make our money work for us was something I was really grateful for. Could have thrown that into the healthier life, but okay. I really appreciate what you've done with that. Getting a whole entire month with Brooklyn in December and November. Huge. Really, really loved that. Also about Brooklyn, that I'm surprised hasn't come up here yet, is your custom activation for Brooklyn's birthday, your Harry Potter activation, which is like nothing I've ever seen.
Oh, Siri, stop. My computer's listening to me. I've never done that before.
Okay. What were you thinking before that happened?
I was going to say, I saw that and almost put that on here, but I didn't quite write it. But my Harry Potter activation, I did.
Actual moving photos of have you seen this witch or wizard that kids could go in the booth and just like in the movies, you would get the photo and it would move.
It was move. We thought of that like 2 days before we made it happen. It was really cool.
I think it might have been the night before.
No, because I had to print a bunch of stuff out.
It was crazy. But yeah, the whole thing coming together, definitely worth mentioning, is one of the peak cool things we did this year.
Yeah. That was really cool. Any more? Extra time with me?
No, just stuff that you said. I have a couple weird moments to throw in.
Okay, I have 3 of my runner-up moments.
Okay.
Coloring books has been like a really fun thing for me this year.
Nice.
I have that one. A couple that we need to like try. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. New recipes and cooking more and new cookbooks. Like I've been trying some new stuff out and really enjoying it, and it's been really paying off in many ways.
It really has. It's been awesome.
So that's been really fun.
But you know what? On that note, finding Joshua Weissman's channel has been really good for us.
Yeah.
Just in terms of entertainment, but also in terms of cooking.
Yep. And this is kind of in line with cooking, but more just random. But my new love affair with Aperol Spritz and me posting it and someone being like, add elderflower to it. And I was like, girl, you're my new best friend, you bartender.
That was awesome. Well, a couple final things before we wrap up. The last episode of Hardly Holidays 2024 in the first episode of Hardly Working 2025. Who knows?
I don't know.
A couple of things. I mentioned earlier, prepping for the NTI breakout was weird. It was weird when I saw that I was taking commercial classes at Robert DeVonzo's acting studio this year. Like that was the beginning part of this year.
That's crazy.
Isn't that nuts? And I was like, I feel like I haven't been in classes for so long. It was this year. Pilates classes. Speaking of classes.
I wrote that somewhere, but I didn't get it on here.
Y'all, Pilates is hard.
I'm going to be going back again this year with my friend Steffi.
It's freaking hard. We went to 2 different studios and they were both very, very difficult. So
one was more fun than the other, but I'm trying a 3rd one out with one of my friends who goes, and I'm really excited about it.
Well, I hope it works for you. Last thing that we haven't mentioned, how weird was it taking your dad to Terra at Italy for his birthday and running into our friends, Derek and Haley Huff, on the way out?
Oh, that was weird.
Right?
That's so fun for them. Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, that happened. And
they played it cool.
Yeah, my parents are huge dancing. We talked about this already, but my parents are huge Dancing with the Stars fans, like huge. And so it was such a fun thing to be like, oh, Derek, Haley, hey, it's good to see you guys. Because if you don't know, I did their wedding weekend.
Years ago now. Yeah.
It was for their entire wedding weekend. And they're like the sweetest couple. I had many calls with Haley. She's like the sweetest human being you could ever meet. So happy she's healthy, happy, and alive and good. But it was so cool to run into her. This now was a couple months after her surgery and after recovery. So it was good to see her and to like hug her and ask her how she's doing and all that stuff. But my parents got to meet them, and Derek told my dad happy birthday, and they played it cool, but they definitely went and like bragged to all of their friends the next day, and they were like, yeah, it was really cool, and we got to meet them because they know my dad.
Which is really the only part we wanted to know about.
Yeah.
It's like,
I
did
was
we
like,
do something
you're
cool?
welcome.
Did we?
But it was really cool. That was a really fun, cool, interesting, weird thing. Yeah.
Well, it's time to wrap up this episode. I don't know if you have any final thoughts you want to share or think about and share after.
No, it is always very healing and healthy to go through our top knots. Yeah. And so if I can encourage anybody out there, I hope that you guys take some time to really go through, we're so close, to really go through the best things and maybe some of the worst things that happened to you this year. Not so you can dwell on the worst things, but so you can like relive the good things and remember all of the positive and fun and good things that happened to you this year.
Yeah. If you only pick one to do the tops,
do the
not
tops.
The knots.
But I hope it's good reminding. If you can even think back to the beginning of this episode or maybe the episode prior, I don't know if we're going to split it or not, but,
we'll keep it together.
Like we talked about some of the worst moments that we had this year only to end like smiling and happy because we went through the top best things that happened. So I encourage everyone out there to give it a try and do it. And as you start this new year, figure out what your word is. My word for this year is disciplined. We break that down maybe in a hardly working through it. But I hope that rather than having a New Year's resolution about one thing that you want to do, maybe you can find a word that you would like to reflect or represent, or a phrase that will reflect or represent your entire year and the one thing that you'll focus on versus, lose 10 pounds or eat healthier. Maybe it's just a different thing that actually helps you focus more on you and creating the space and the place and the environment that you want to be in and the circles you want to be in.
I couldn't have said it better myself. I'll leave you with one little story. to wrap up a year and start a new one. When Kellie's grandmother came into town this year, she it's one of those situations that many of us have been in. Every year is this could be the last year. And this one was no different. And I saw Kellie and her grandma get to have a very sweet embrace and goodbye. And when it was my turn to say goodbye, one of the things, in fact, pretty much the last thing she left me with was find a way to live a happy life. Be happy. Then she wrote us a card for Christmas. Inside, my card said, be happy. What I want to leave you with for your 2025 is not just the notion, but the permission to be happy. There's no trophy at the end of your life for suffering. There's no trophy at the end of your life for having stuck it out in a terrible position longer than anyone else. There's no trophy at the end of your life for being miserable. There's no trophy at the end of your life for hating the years that you lived. So you might as well find a way to be happy. If I can leave you with anything, just don't get to the end of your life and wish that you had more joy or wish that you had more or less self-inflicted, self-induced suffering. Get out there, find a club, make the change, leave the relationship, start a new one, find a new job, whatever it is for you that's going to improve your quality of life without impacting the people and hurting the people that are directly closest to you and depending on you. I know it's complicated. Maybe do it this year. There's no trophy for being miserable at the end, so find a way to be happy. And if it's with us, we'd love to do it with you. That's one thing you can depend on. So you'll have a lot of us this year.
You're welcome.
So enjoy the beginning of your 2025. And here's to the best year for anyone and everyone listening. We love you. We mean it. And we hope you spend at least the first part of your 2025
hardly working. Bye.
I feel like we should end on a bigger bye. Hardly working.
Bye.
That's better.